Joining us now is One Nation Leader Pauline Hanson and former Speaker of the House Bronwyn Bishop. Ladies, welcome. Let's stick with the pro-Palestinian mob who took over Sydney's CBD last night in a snap protest, all in the name of Greta Thunberg and her ridiculous Gaza flotilla. Bronwyn, why can't our leaders do more to stop this endless, non-stop pro-Palestinian marches?
Because they don't want to. I mean, you only had to listen to the pathetic address by the police minister this morning in New South Wales. Oh, we'll leave it up to the police. She is the police minister. She is the face of the government. Where is Mr Minns? Nice Mr Minns, such a nice chap. Nice words, says them all the time. What does he do? Nothing. So we talk a lot about democracy and democracy under threat. Our democracy is under threat because when the government of the day won't stand up for the rights of the people, we're in serious trouble. And we know why they do it. We know they do it because they want votes in those Western Sydney seats. And the dreadful action they took of recognising a Palestinian state without the return of the hostages, without there being proper protocols in place, just showed how cowardly the federal government, led by Albanese, is as well.
Pauline, you know, many of our cities, Melbourne and Sydney in particular, but elsewhere, have become no-go zones, these endless marches. So if you're Jewish, and even if you're not Jewish, you might feel intimidated by these marches. We are now in the process of a peace deal. So there's no point in the marches. There's nothing they can influence other than maybe influence Hamas. So they should be out protesting in favour of Donald Trump's peace initiative, not against it. And certainly what Greta Thunberg has to do with anything is irrelevant. What do you make of this, and what should our state governments or even our federal government be doing to stop this endless intimidation?
Bronwyn was correct in what she was saying. The governments don't want to do anything about it. They are appeasing the voters. So it's all about pushing their own agenda, the ideology, and just seeing how far they can get in the country with it. The hatred is spewed on our streets. They're actually getting other Australians to join them who have no idea. They're pushing their own ideology. And when our Parliament and when our ministers and legislators don't stand up to them, they know how far they can go, and they're going to keep going with it. And like I said, we've seen it happen in other countries around the world, with France, Denmark, Germany, even in England now. So you're losing control of your country. This is the future.
And Australia's got to learn. It's got to look overseas and learn. And one thing we could learn from is watching the extraordinary nonsense peddled by the UK Labor government. As I said, Albo and Starmer claim to be great mates, so it's perfectly legitimate to criticise them both in the same breath. Over in the UK, Deputy Prime Minister, this bloke, David Lammy, he's under fire for his disgusting smear campaign against Nigel Farage, who could easily be the next Prime Minister. Take a listen.
Is Nigel Farage a racist?
I answered your question. I'm not going to play the man. I'm playing the ball as our leader did. I will leave it for the public to come to their own judgments about someone who once flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger.
So according to this half-wit, Bronwyn, Nigel Farage, who was born, I think, in the early 1960s, was trying to join the Hitler Youth, the Hitler Jugend, which collapsed in 1945 when Hitler was defeated. Bit of a maths problem there. Not the brightest spark, clearly. But this endless use of Hitler analogy, racism in America, in Australia, in Britain, Canada, and elsewhere, this just fuels the sort of violence we saw in Manchester. It fuels the violence we saw with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This endless rhetoric from the left demonising anybody who disagrees with Hitler, racist, all this jargon.
Well, look, the term racist has lost all meaning. It's like a swear word. It's lost the meaning that it once had. But the other thing that's important is this, that the people who are using all this language about Hitler have no idea about what the real history was, and they're demeaning what they did. This was a murderous man who, with this sort of common language that they spout, just demeans make sure that we never see such a person again. So when you see that Deputy Prime Minister who's been there for 5 minutes because he replaced the woman, I think, who failed to pay a tax on the second house.
Hey, you can't expect socialists to pay their taxes,
no,
can we?
Of course not.
No,
so,
of course
I
not.
mean, how could you believe a word that these people say?
Well, the guy is you know, the expression "too short planks" springs to mind. But Pauline, you are often referred to as Australia's Nigel Farage. You and I have had many discussions about the role One Nation can play, similar to the role of reform in Britain. You've had endless smears against your entire career, going back decades. When you hear something like that, should we just shrug it off, or is it more sinister than, you know, when you hear the left constantly using terms like racist and Hitler, etc., how sinister is it, Pauline?
People are past it, they're sick and tired of it, and especially when you question about the immigration, about the country. If you show that you're a proud Australian, patriotic, you stand by the flag, you're then called a racist. So the public, like I said, they're awake up to it, and it just shows me they're running scared. They know Nigel Farage is very popular in the UK. People want change. They're sick and tired of the Labor Party. And actually, the Conservatives over there are not doing anything at all to encourage the Brits to vote for them either. So he could be the next Prime Minister of their country in 4 years' time.
Well, I agree, and I'm looking forward to that day, and so are many Britons. But Pauline and Bronwyn, I've got to get your opinions on this. You're both brilliant public speakers, and crowds love to listen to both of you. But wait for it. Kamala Harris is heading to Australia to speak to something called the Unlimited Leadership Summit or something or other. Well, I tell you what will be unlimited, her use of word salad, which is legendary, and she'll be talking to none other than Lee Sales. Shall we all be buying our tickets? Apparently bringing Vice President Kamala Harris to the Women Unlimited stage reflects the calibre of conversations Australian women deserve access to. I'm sorry, Rowan, I think Australian women deserve a lot better than that.
And so do I. And I feel sorry for Lee Sales. She must be a bit short on gigs, I think, to be taking this one up, because you've only got to watch those dreadful speeches that Kamala Harris made through the campaign in the United States, and you cringe as a woman to think that that was the best they could put up, because there are much more articulate, able women in the United States than Kamala Harris, that's for sure. And I think she was Biden's gift to the Democrats because they pulled the plug on him.
Thank you both so much, Bronwyn and Pauline.